Kaijus! What's up? It's your boy Kaiju Kong, aka 2K, emerging from the depths of sweet solitude to bring you some more Sigma soul sustenance. Alright guys, as you can tell, today is different. Well, this comes at the request of a subscriber named Crossfire1816. He has been asking for this video for some time now. A couple weeks back, I made a video on how to become a Sigma male when you're younger. And I did mention that Sigma males, we have two spirit animals, generally the lone wolf and the tiger. One navigates the world and evolves and improves himself different from the other. And I also want to give a shout out to Salim, Rose Mahdi, and Michael Perez. Thank you very much for the generous donations made to my PayPal account. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, if you want to support the channel, if you feel that I've helped you and you want to give back, buy me a beer, buy me a coffee to make sure that the content keeps going, do make sure to donate through that PayPal address right there. So without further ado, the two Sigma paths, lone wolf versus the tiger. A lot of suspense. The similarities between the lone wolf and the tiger, let's start there. As you guys all know, they're like Sigma males. We live life on their own terms. They are both independent and self-reliant. That's why they get respect from others. They don't depend on other people for goods. They don't depend on other people for happiness. They don't depend on other people to get them what they need in life. They are independent. They are self-reliant. They prefer their own company. And so preferring their own company is priority number one. If they want to get into social groups, they prefer smaller social groups compared to bigger social groups. Most of the lone wolves and tigers and Sigma males are introverted, but that doesn't mean that extroverts cannot be Sigma males. Extroverts can be Sigma males as well. They play on the fringes to survive and thrive. As you all know, that's what a Sigma male does. We play on the fringes, yet we still win. Mysterious and guarded personality. Because we are closed, we're not very open. We're more silent. We keep to ourselves. We act in silence. We act low-key. Therefore, people do not know where we're going to be coming from next. We're mysterious that way. Rebellious and don't seek approval. And hunt primarily through cunning than raw power. Now this lone wolf and a tiger, they hunt primarily through cunning. They are alone. They cannot rely on raw strength. They cannot rely on their speed. They can. But to inch closer to their target, to inch closer to their prey, they use cunning. They study their targets. They know how the target moves, where the targets hang out. They make life easier for themselves. Because if you just act on raw power strength, you're going to waste a lot of effort. That's why intelligence is the biggest muscle that the top of the hierarchy people exhibit and have. Silence is a tool. Lone wolves and tigers, they don't roar, they don't howl for no reason. And compared to the alpha male, like the lion roars to establish his territory. Lone wolf does not howl and does not actually mark, he does not pee and doesn't mark his territory as much as he did when he was part of a pack. Same with the tiger. The tiger does not roar to establish his territory. The tiger roars for a purpose, to intimidate opposition. Now, apart from the similarities, let's get into the differences. The lone wolf is special because he is genetically a pack animal. Wolves exist in groups. Now, Sigma males who subscribe to the lone wolf mentality believe that Sigma males are born because they left the group for their own reasons. Now, this is the thing. When you're a lone wolf, you started out in a group, but you felt that you needed to leave. The reason why you left is because you felt different from the rest. You thought differently from the rest. When everyone went this way, you wanted to go the other way. Usually a temporary phase, and may shift archetype later on. Now this is very important because a lone wolf genetically, as I mentioned, is a pack animal. Therefore, it still remains to be said whether he will remain a lone wolf or potentially come back into a hierarchy. He may not agree with what his pack at the moment, what his previous pack said, but he may agree to what another pack subscribes to. Search for new territory, either as a leader or follower. This follows what I previously said. When he disbands from his previous hierarchy because he was different from them, he can look for another hierarchy or another group that thinks like him, because there are other groups that do think and act in different ways. All groups are different. Therefore, one group that you came from may think this way. There may be a blue pill group, but that doesn't mean that there are no red pill groups. If you're red pill, you disband from the blue pill group and you go on to a red pill group. But in that phase of limbo, that is when you are a lone wolf. You're fending for yourself in search of that red pill group. Oh, and when you go to the red pill group, you can either follow them if the alpha of that group is good and sound in his reasoning and you align with what he says. You can easily, you don't mind because you're egalitarian. You don't really need to be the leader. If the leader of that current group is already good, you're going to follow him. But if you see that there are other lone wolves that are lost, but they have the same mentality as you can always gather them up and become the leader of that newly established group. Now, the thing with a lone wolf compared to the tiger is that a lone wolf, because he is smaller than a tiger, he can only go after smaller prey. Rabbits, foxes, you name it. Deer, maybe that's the maximum that he can go. So in human form, you as a lone wolf can only attack and hunt after projects, work, etc. that are smaller in magnitude compared to when you are part of a group. As part of a group, you can take on bigger projects. Because you're only one person, naturally the projects and things that you take on are smaller. Therefore, because you take on smaller projects, you're not as rich or profitable as others who are part of a group, unless you learn how to automate these systems. If you learn how to automate, you can technically doppelgang yourself and clone yourself into bots that can work for you in replacement of actual people. You learn how to automate the tasks, make life easier for you, and therefore maximize and multiply yourself and increase your income. But as with Sigma males, you can agree that wealth isn't the goal. Freedom is the goal. Therefore, a certain amount of wealth that earns us a decent amount of financial freedom to exist the way that we want to. That is the goal that we're reaching. We're not reaching for a Bugatti, but all Sigma males are different. You may be a Sigma male and want a Bugatti and freedom at the same time, or like most Sigma males, we just want freedom. We don't really mind the Bugatti. It attracts too much attention to us. We just want to remain low-key to be able to do what we want to do without people always constantly looking at us. So that's the lone wolf. Let's go on to the tiger. The tiger is genetically a solitary animal compared to the wolf. Wolf is a pack animal. Tiger is born solitary. Now, Sigma males who subscribe to the tiger as a Sigma animal, Sigma spirit animal, believe that Sigma males are made, not born. Why? Because humans, we are social creatures. We are not born solitary animals. Therefore, when you're a tiger, you did participate in society. And the reason why a Sigma male who subscribes to the tiger spirit animal, believes that Sigma males are made is because somewhere along the way of his life there was trauma, he suffered trauma, or there was a certain life event or a certain background in his life that led to him changing his heart and his mind. Because of this one thing, or a certain cumulative things that happened over his life, he eventually lost trust in society and then left altogether. For him, his opinions are that Sigma males are made, not born. Because in the beginning he was part of a hierarchy, and he was happy. But external circumstances forced him to believe otherwise. Usually a tiger is more capable than a lone wolf to be truly independent. A tiger, of course, is bigger than a lone wolf, more powerful. Therefore, he really is more capable as a born solitary animal to exist independently. Tigers, as many of you may not know, actually can form groups temporarily for a specific purpose. They call them streaks. A group of tigers called a streak or an ambush. Tigers get together to either mate or hunt larger goals for a specific purpose, after which they temporarily gather for teamwork and then they disperse. So let me get down to details. Animal kingdom. How do they survive? Survival in the animal kingdom is all about territory. The more territory and the more abundant there is in the territory, the more food and water you have. The more shelter and security you have, and the more means of reproducing you have. This makes sense, of course. Survival is all about territory, establishing your own kingdom, your own empire, and you have to guard it with your life. A little note is that tigers are extremely territorial for this very reason. That's why they're solitary. They're big animals. They require a lot of food. They require a lot of sustenance. They require a bigger area with which to roam. That's why they're solitary. If there are two of them together, it means that, however, they tend to be more forgiving if there is an abundance of prey around. Therefore, if there's an abundance, they do not mind usually other tigers hanging around within the territory because there's an abundance. What is there to fight over? But if, in normal cases, the resources are scarce, the tigers are very territorial. Same with a lone wolf. A lone wolf, wolves in a pack, they have a territory. And a lone wolf normally, when he disbands from this territory, from his original pack, he has to find his own territory away from the territory of his original pack. Because if he hangs out in the territory, they're going to hunt him down and kill him. So he has to find his own. A Sigma male finds his own and owns it. That is his kingdom. He protects it. That's the territory that he has to maintain in order to survive in the animal kingdom. Now, how does this relate into human civilization? Early human civilization was pretty much the same. When they were cavemen, survival was all about territory, and the territory largely determined the food, water, shelter, security, and reproduction. It's the same thing. Now, humans were different. Humans used their intelligence and teamwork to make tools, to build walls, and to cooperate in terms of coming up with a survival strategy, how to hunt down the mammoth, how to build the wall, how to make fire. Humans were weaker compared to the other animals that surrounded them, but they used their intelligence and they used their communication to gather as a team. Humans are pack animals. Now, if you are a loner, given that humans are pack animals, if you're a loner, if you're a lone wolf or a tiger, how do you survive? You are competing with others for the same resources alone. Now, many Sigma males, they say, oh, we're not competing, we're all egalitarian. Yeah. How do you survive? How do you make a living? It's easy to say one thing when you're living with your parents. It's easy to say something when you're relying on the government. It's easy to say something when you're relying on another person to buy you food, to pay for your bills, to pay for your housing. But when you have to do everything yourself, how do you survive? You have to compete. So how do you do that if you're alone? Let's get into it. With human civilization, when they evolved, the abundance of food, the abundance of water, the abundance of shelter, meant that the tribe grew. And when the tribe grows, a certain number of hunters can provide enough food for everybody else. That doesn't mean that everyone else has to go hunt. It means it frees up enough time for others to develop on their other interests. And if you're not so good at hunting, what do? You develop on specializations. You had the luxury of time to actually work on your own skills, so specializations. As I said, hunters and warriors were the most valued at the time because they brought in the bacon, they brought in the food, they fought wars with other tribes. They dictated the strength and the survival power of that current tribe. That's why hunters and warriors were valued. Kings and chieftains were usually hunters and warriors previously. But not everyone was cut out to hunt or fight, as I have previously mentioned. They had to find a way to be useful. If you were not useful, you were cut out from the tribe and become an outcast. You don't provide any good to them. All you're doing is sucking out the resources like a leech, but not giving anything out. So, in order to be useful, they had to dig deep down into themselves, and then they used their unique gifts and skills to provide value to the society and the tribe that they were in. Now, this is a term called comparative advantage. In economics, it means that comparative advantage is compared to another person, You could be more skilled at, let's say, blacksmithing. You know the tools. You have the strength to hammer down that sheet of metal over and over again compared to Bobby Joe. Bobby Joe is not as good as you. Therefore, you have more comparative advantage. It takes you less time, takes you less effort, and it costs you less money to provide that service. Therefore, you are the best person to provide, to be the blacksmith of the tribe. That's why these things called specializations came up. One person became the blacksmith. David over there, seeing that he cannot compete with the blacksmith, became the fisherman. And then the other guy became the butcher. And then the other guy became the farmer. Now this is the brief evolution of value. How did money come about? Now you as a blacksmith, you had swords. The other guy, as a farmer, he had wheat. Now it first developed out of the gift economy and debts. As a blacksmith, I give you horseshoes for free. You use the horseshoes to put on your horse, and the horse drags tills the land, gives you wheat, and then somewhere along the way, because out of debt, out of a feeling of goodwill, you give me barley in return. The hunters, they give us the meat for us to survive and continue with our specialization. The warriors protect the tribe. That's their specialization. They protect the tribe from other tribes in order for us to continue living on and expanding our civilization, our tribe. Now the thing is with the gift economy, when you're a farmer, you have extra wheat on the side that if you don't spend will just go to waste. What happens to that wheat? You use it to barter and to trade with others. You use it as an exchange of goods. You see the other guy, he has 10 cows, and the cows provide him with too much milk that his family can sustain themselves on 2 buckets of milk, but he produces 5 buckets of milk. What happens to the 3 buckets of milk? It can either go to waste, or you can say, I can see you have 3 buckets of milk. I have extra wheat here. Would you want to do an exchange, my wheat for your milk? And so they exchanged the surplus. That's why barter and trade came into effect. Now, not everyone wanted what you offered. What happens if you wanted the milk, but he didn't want your wheat? Then it came into representative money. You deposit your wheat, and then they will give you like a clay tablet describing how much money or currency you have, how much credit you have with which you can give to the guy who has the milk. So the clay tablet, he can use it to go back to the merchant and purchase anything that he wants that is stored in that house. So that's that's how I understood how representative money works like. It's not exactly money. It's just a proxy money. As a civilization, you had a local surplus of certain goods because some countries or some areas had too much wine, had too much grapes. What happens if there is a surplus locally of grapes? Then they had to import and export. Now this presented a new problem when you export with another area who has a different representative money. You can have clay tablets, but they use paper to write down the credit. What happens then? The thing is, there is a necessity for a commodity with intrinsic value for both parties. Now they had to talk to each other and say, okay, what has value that we can share, that we can agree upon, that is both valuable to you, valuable to me, but can be used as a shared currency. This is what happened, currency. And at the time, most currency was gold or silver. And then it developed over time to what we know today, banknotes, bills, and coins. So specialization, as you can see, when you go to the supermarket, you look around, there's an abundance of food, there's an abundance of drinks, there's an abundance of housing. The thing is, before it was man versus environment, but with specialization we leveled up to such a point, there's an abundance of goods with which to survive, but not an abundance of means with which to get those goods. Therefore, it's not man against environment anymore. It was man versus man. It's now about status and wealth. Now it is about capitalism. Nothing comes for free. You have to earn your keep. You have to compete. You have to provide value. The game has changed. Now, there are 2 ways with which to survive in this world based on what happened over the years. This is the societal construct. Survival now is about getting and finding your territory. Now, the territory is not an actual tangible piece of land. Territory now refers to your role and your job in society. And this role and your job in society dictates the amount of money you can earn. Money is the currency, the proxy with which you can buy food and water and buy shelter and security with which you can survive. Therefore, a long time ago, where to survive we can go directly to the source, now we have lengthened the process and put in money. And money, instead of reproduction, money can also provide you a better means of leaving a legacy. Because not everyone wants kids. Legacy can mean kids, or legacy can mean an actual thing with which you brought forth from your mind, something that leaves your mark on the world. Now that is one societal construct. There's another one called the self-sufficient alternative. If you do not want to constantly work in the rat race to provide for yourself, because it doesn't really make sense, survival is all about, in the self-sufficient, you can go and get a territory, and the territory provides you food and water and shelter and security, just like the past. The thing is, nowadays, and I can see it only getting worse in the future, is that to get territory, unless you're born with that territory, the piece of land, territory is basically owned by the government. So is territory actually possible? Is that probable? Is that a feasible thing? No, most probably it's not. You have to buy the territory. Therefore, you have to go again and find your territory, which is a role and a job in society with which to earn you money. The more money you earn, the better your role and job in society. The more money you earn, the more power you have with which to purchase that territory. And that doesn't stop there. The money you earn is used to buy food and water, buy seeds, buy tools with which to plant your vegetables, to plant your fruits, to buy cows, to buy horses, to buy the means with which to cultivate the land. And you also need money to buy the tools, to buy the wood, to buy the cement with which to construct a house. You need money either way to make it out in the self-sufficient alternative. Unless you already were born with money, unless you already were born with the land, you still have to work for that territory, work for the seeds and with which to build a house in that territory. And then again, also to leave a legacy. So we established that currency itself spawned from specialization. Without specialization, without one guy being a farmer, without one guy being a blacksmith, without the other guy being like this, there wouldn't be currency. Because everyone would be doing the same thing. Specialization is the key to getting currency. Now that's what many people forget. They go against life. They're taught like to go with the rat race, to go with the social narrative, but they don't know why. Life, as you grow up from a kid to adulthood, is years of knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and building upon the skills with which to specialize. Once you specialize, you can more powerfully navigate and provide for yourself independently without having to depend on other people. The name of the game is specialization. Specialization is the key to getting currency, to being a man of value, to being someone that others respect. And the more skilled and recognized you are compared to others, the more potential you are or you have for survival. I can be a blacksmith, but there can be a blacksmith also in another town. The thing is, compared between us, who is the better blacksmith? If I'm the better blacksmith, I can potentially earn more than him. Because if people in his tribe or people in his civilization have heard that I can craft the best weapons, the best shields, the best armors, they may forget about him and actually seek me out, seek my services out. Everything flows, my friend. Respect, goods with which to buy your territory, with which to upgrade your tools, to even further improve your value as a blacksmith, and more food, more shelter, so you're not only surviving, you're essentially thriving. So the importance, as I said, is to identify as early as possible where is your realm of power. The younger that you are, the more important this is to identify your strengths. Look at other people. Look at what everyone else is doing. And the best thing is to do the other thing. That market is saturated. Too much competition. That's why a lone wolf goes away from the hierarchy. Sometimes that's the reason why. Because this territory that wolf pack is occupying probably is already scarce with resources. And him being the smart one goes away and sees that there's greener pastures on the other side. So he makes it out on himself and goes to the land of honey and milk and free roaming chickens. He can live like a king as long as he maintains that territory, as long as he's powerful to keep that territory for himself. He has to fight for it. It takes work. You cannot just sleep. Where is your realm of power? Identify that. This is also one interesting thing. In the past, the local culture or status quo determined what was valued. An example is Athens, Greece. In the same time period, Athens and Greece and Sparta, they're in the same country. Athens and Sparta. One, Athens, appreciated wisdom, appreciated arts, appreciated knowledge, culture. Whereas Sparta, they were more of a warring state. They were very stoic, laconic, direct, straightforward. And you as a lone wolf, you as a tiger, you understood that in the same time period, in the same country, one values this, the other values that. If you are a warrior, you would be better off sticking to Sparta. If you're in Athens, they're not gonna maximize your potential too much or maximize your potential at all. They value wisdom, they value culture. But if you're a guy like Leonardo da Vinci, if you were in Athens, you would be hailed, you would be celebrated, you'd be respected. But if you were Leonardo da Vinci in Sparta, you're pretty much a piece of shit. Nobody would respect you. So you have to position yourself, identify your realm of power, identify what you believe in, where you align, how you interact with the world. How do you think? Are you more artistic? Are you more pragmatic? Do you learn by seeing? Do you learn by hearing? Do you learn by touching? Do you learn by doing? And then sometimes the country or the place that you're in does not respect you because your values are not the same as theirs. Like a lone wolf. He believes that he was born different. He believes that Sigma males are born because they were put in a place that does not suit them. So he grew up in a society feeling that he was out of place, but in fact, if you grew up in Athens as a warrior, you could in fact jump away from Athens and go to Sparta and feel very much at home. That's what a lone wolf does. He jumps from hierarchy to hierarchy. But now, let's go into the present. Present is not much different. There is a such thing as a macroeconomic specialization. A country like Bangladesh specializes in textiles. Another country like Singapore, they don't have any natural resources with which to use, therefore they rely on manpower. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, the resource is oil. Therefore, each area, each country has a specialization, and this is called macroeconomic specialization. And you, once you've found your strength, if you're good at technology, do not put yourself in a third world country where people do not really understand technology. But if you go to Japan, or if you go to some place like Silicon Valley, there you will be respected. That's one thing you have to recognize. You have to know and understand that there is such a thing as macroeconomic specializations. And the thing that you give to the world, you have to position yourself in the correct country and correct culture. That's why I put this here. On the left, you see Japan. On the right, you see Spain. One is in the east, one is in the west. Japan has ridiculous work ethic. The people there work so many hours overtime. It's just hustle and bustle every single day. 10, 20 minutes of break per day. Whereas in Spain, it is more fiesta. Everyone is more lax. Everyone is more celebrative. There is siesta. You can sleep basically after lunch hours. So if you're a more lax, relaxed sort of Sigma male, go to the West, go to Spain, go to go to South America, where people are more extroverted, people are more playful. But if you're really hardworking, better to go to Japan. Also, if you're really hardworking, you put yourself in places like Spain, there's also potential where people admire your work ethic, because all of a sudden, everyone is used to this type of level of work ethic, but you being a really hard worker, you are like this in terms of work ethic, they respect you more. So if you're in Japan and your work ethic, you're trained with a certain work ethic like this, and your work ethic seems to be average, try putting yourself in a place like Spain. All of a sudden, you see that everyone's work ethic is at this level, and your work ethic far supersedes theirs. You will be much more respected. You have the potential to earn much more than them. Simple as that. Position yourself in the right environment. Now, aside from the environment, there is also such a thing as the internet. Now, the internet is also known as the great equalizer. You don't have to physically go to another country anymore. You can stick at home, be a hermit, although I don't recommend it, and make a living through the internet. An example is, for example, what I'm doing, YouTube. I'm here at home, but I'm reaching people in the US, I'm reaching people in the Philippines, I'm reaching people in Africa, everywhere. Therefore, the territory that you're in has now expanded if you use technology properly. If you use technology just to scroll through Instagram, just to swipe left and right on Tinder, you're just a consumer. You're not a creator. So what this means for each spirit animal, for a lone wolf. Lone wolf's mission ultimately is to take advantage of the system and or leave a legacy. Remember, a lone wolf is genetically a pack animal. Therefore, he doesn't mind taking advantage of the system. He doesn't mind getting in and out of society. He can participate. With each transition, with every hierarchy that he jumps and gets into, he improves and recreates himself. He adapts to every single environment and establishes his own footprint. This is why a lone wolf and a sigma male, he generally becomes better than an alpha male, because an alpha male relies on an environment. He builds up an environment with which to support him in his leadership or top of the pack role. A sigma male is different. He goes into every society, he goes into every new environment as a newbie, as a newcomer. And when he arrives, he has to adapt immediately to the status quo and then establish his own identity and to leave his own footprint in that country. Therefore, the more times you do this, the more it becomes a habit, the more you can easily establish your footprint. So if you get an alpha out of his comfort zone, you put him in a new country, and you take a sigma male and put him in that same country, a sigma male, I can guarantee you, can very quickly establish his own power base with which to be respected faster than an alpha. A lone wolf might go back to joining or leading a pack. He is more social than a tiger because genetically he is a pack animal, and he has actually more relationships with women as well, though how long these last cannot be said. And a lone wolf doesn't mind working with or for others as long as it fits his purpose. But above all, a lone wolf still respects his independence and individuality. He jumps in and out of society when needed. An example of a lone wolf is Tyler Durden, Fight Club, because many people think that Tyler Durden in his earlier part of the movie was a sigma male and then eventually became a lone wolf. Eventually became an alpha male. No, what I tell you is that by default he was a lone wolf. The later part of the movie with which he led the Fight Club is just him reflecting his being a lone wolf. A lone wolf, he is more loner, he's independent, but then he does not mind leading a group, he does not mind joining a pack, especially if it is built on his own terms, if they follow his rules. That is what a lone wolf is. And Geralt of Rivia is a lone wolf. He goes from society to society. He hunts monsters, but he gets paid for it. He survives off of society. He does not depend on them, but he helps them in return for goods and goods and currency. Now, a tiger, on the other hand, a tiger's mission is not to take advantage of the system. It's to do away with the system and or to fulfill a personal purpose. where a wolf is more looking at what he as an individual can, how he can benefit society to provide for himself and to perpetually ensure his independence. A tiger looks at just fuck that. How do I get away from it all? And how do I just develop on my own specific, unique purpose, personal purpose? He does not really care about the rest. He just focuses on himself. He's more likely to work towards self-sufficiency than a lone wolf. A lone wolf may rely on other people. He has potential to rely on others. But a tiger relies on himself in the end. He is a solitary animal, a solitary person, true solitude. Single-minded focus on skills and abilities. Now, a lone wolf may focus as well on social skills. Tiger, not as much. He's more aloof because there's an opportunity cost. There's a give and take. You cannot eat the cake and have it too. Tiger, to survive alone 100%, he has to focus on building himself up. And because he does that, he sacrifices the time he could have used to develop on his social skills. He is rarely seen in the spotlight, yet equally reputable. Again, he's either developing on his craft or making moves. He doesn't have time to engage in society. He's very low-key. Being low-key, he's unpredictable when he strikes. You don't know when he's going to show up next. You do not know what he's going to do next. And he's less likely to get into relationships as a lone wolf. He has no useless friends. Now, all the tiger's friends have a use to him. He does not have anyone who's useless. Lone wolf might have a few friends who are useless because he engages in society more than the tiger does. And engaging in society, you have stupid fools of friends who are there. Acquaintances, maybe not friends, but acquaintances. You just tolerate them. A tiger, not so much. If you're useless to a tiger, spirit animal, you might as well forget being able to talk to him. Tiger makes full use of delegation, automation, or tools with which to ensure that he goes away with the system. An example is Batman and the older John Rambo from the Rambo film series. Batman uses delegation, he uses automation and tools to survive alone, to be left alone, to do away with the system. How does he eat? How does he buy the Batmobile? How does he always have a constant supply of tools? Money. But does he really stay involved in his business to get the money? No, he delegates the task off to other people. He does not even think about his business. He just focuses on being Batman. John Rambo is the same thing. As he got older, as you can see, Sigma males are made. He was part of society, but somewhere along the way, because he was part of the war in Vietnam, people saw him with such contempt. They threw stuff at him. They called him a baby killer. He suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. He was not the same after he came back after the war. He felt less trust towards other people. So for peace of mind reasons, he built his own cabin, set up his own defenses, set up his own way of being self-sufficient, and lived by himself. So, my friends, thank you very much for sticking out this long. This concludes part 1. Now part 2, I cannot keep rambling on because as you can see, it's already about to be 50 minutes. Part 2, I will be discussing how a Sigma male who subscribed to the lone wolf mentality goes from order to chaos, while a Sigma male who resonates with a tiger goes from chaos to order. They both have different paths. I'm doing this for you. These are actually secrets that Sigma males we have known all this time, that schools don't teach this. Mom and dad most probably don't teach this because they're so stuck in the matrix. Only the people who are woke, only the people, Sigma males, we have observed society. Like me when I was young, I've observed society to the point where I have realized all of this happening. And I pinpointed the origin, the root of the problem with which to attack. Not the low-hanging fruit that everyone else is going after. And that's why I'm giving it to my friends for being loyal subscribers to this channel. So thank you very much. I appreciate the donations again from Salim, Rose Mahdi, and Michael Perez. Thank you very much to you. And Crossfire 1816. This is a continued shout out to my friend. I'm going to keep making series. Part 2 is coming up next, so stay tuned. This is Kaiju Kong signing off. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more. Stay strong and take care.